something more for you to enjoy. Maybe in your pajamas, or riding the bus or train, or wherever you are in the world.
Well, when I retired in 2011, I wanted to become an inventor, and I had an idea in mind.
And work together with good people, just like I like to do. All right, Ron, tell us about the inventions, beginning to end, where you want to go with it, freewheeling. All the inventions, the patents. Hey, this has been fantastic. Inventor Ron, I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And
I brought a gift for you.
a gift.
Yeah, so the thing about being a manufacturer is you get to give samples away.
Very cool. Now that looks like a Union Jack, but it's the BC flag, correct?
You got it.
Beautiful. You make these?
I do.
And what do you do with this? What's the process? It's a card with a flag.
It's plastic.
Plastic.
G.
Okay.
That's the same plastic they use to make deli clamshells.
Deli clamshells.
Exactly. You know, you get a sandwich,
right,
in a clamshell thing, a plastic thing.
Oh, the carrier that you put the food inside. It has nothing to do with a clam.
It's called a clamshell because it opens like a clam. That's what they call it.
Very cool.
It's deli clamshell. So you buy a sandwich and and you open it up, get your sandwich. That plastic gets thrown in the trash. So my goal is to make these and other things out of recycled plastic.
These are made, you make these here in Canada?
I make them at home.
They're homemade?
Yes.
In your homemade factory?
That's right.
Excellent. Excellent. I want to put this here so it grabs both of us. I'm going to end up, can you scoot in a little bit? You see yourself?
I do.
All right, that's good. Okay. So, Ron, Inventor Ron.
Yes.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I grew up in North Vancouver.
Okay.
And even in high school, I was the video guy. They had a video camera. Believe this, in 1972.
Okay.
And I was the high school video guy. And
What kind of cameras were you using?
Well, in those days, it was a big thing that it was a big thing that sat on your shoulder, and it had like a reel-to-reel tape recorder.
Okay.
It wasn't digital; it was all reel-to-reel, and analog machines. And so I was the volunteer that did the school assemblies and whatever else. And then from there, I tried to get into BCIT, and I took some night school courses. TV, they had night school TV, so I did that. I applied to get in, they wouldn't let me in.
Why is that?
I don't know. I have no idea. So I went to UBC. I went to Simon Fraser University Communications Department. Took a year of university. And I was the video guy there too. I joined their video club, and they had a video camera that you could take home with you.
Okay.
So I took it home with me and my buddies, and we would make videos with this camera from the university. So I did that for a year, but I got impatient because the communications course was all about, a lot about communications policy.
Okay.
And I wasn't interested in policy. I wanted to get on with it and start making TV. So I tried again at BCIT. They wouldn't let me in again. I don't know why. Why? I have no idea. Anyway, I started calling across the country. I ended up at Fanshawe College in London, Ontario. They accepted me on the phone. So I packed my bags and I moved to London, Ontario for 2 years.
London, Ontario.
Yeah, I took the TV course, TV production.
TV production. So you were always interested in being behind the camera?
Yes.
You did not want to be in front. So interviewing now is not comfortable for you, or it's okay?
Well, it's not. I haven't been interviewed before.
Okay.
So
Good. You're doing
What's
great. I just random people, but it's nice to have something planned that we can share.
Well,
in
I've
this.
seen a lot of interviews. I've directed a lot of interviews,
Okay.
so I know how it works.
Perfect. Perfect. So you went to Fan Shop because you couldn't get into BCIT for no reason at all. They just
Well, that I could surmise. Maybe they had a lot of applicants. I don't know. I don't know. But it doesn't matter.
Before you go on with the Fan Shop piece, when you were young, growing up, was there something then? Was there an inkling that you wanted to do something behind the camera? Were you taking
Well, I always
pictures?
loved TV.
Okay.
You know, I watched all of the shows, all of the movies. You know, I was a huge fan of television right from the get-go, even though it was black and white at the time.
Sure. And that translated into one day you just decided, hey, I want to be behind.
Well, I just gravitated towards TV. I just, like, it wasn't anything I consciously decided. I just gravitated towards television. Because I like the buttons, I like the technology, I liked being in the show business. I thought show business would be exciting.
Okay.
Actors, and, TV stars, and all that kind of stuff.
Before you went to Fanshawe, you dabbled, or in school you were part of school productions, or
They had theater. I wasn't in the theater. No, not really.
nothing until you went to.
I went to university, and well, then I took the night school courses, and went to college. And
Did you
got
produce
on with it.
anything during that time that's still available? Is it something?
Well, in college we had assignments, of course. So they split you off into groups, and you got to make a video.
Do you remember one of them that you can talk about?
Oh yeah. Well, London, Ontario, very snowy. It's in the snow belt.
Right.
So when the assignment came along, it was the middle of winter, and it snows like crazy. But we had this idea where we would do it outside. We shot on film out in the field somewhere in London, Ontario, behind the college, and we made up this skit of kind of like guys lost in the snow.
Right.
And to communicate, we took styrofoam and we cut out like words with the bubble. You'd talk and you'd hold up the sign, and people would communicate back and forth in the video, holding up sign like, "What the hell's going on?" Guy would hold, "I don't know," and the other guy would, "Well, we got to get the hell out of here, but I'm lost," and we'd do that. And that was our video.
Was it entering in for a grade or for any kind of recognition?
Well, you had to do it, right? It's,
For the assignment to get the grade.
The video. So, yeah, it's kind of fun.
And the guys you hung out with, they were all photographers, videographers?
Well, they were college kids. We were college kids. We didn't really know what we were doing. We were just decided we liked TV and wanted to get into television.
Have you produced an entire anything that would have been put on air eventually, or?
Well, after college, I moved back to British Columbia.
Okay.
And tried to get a job. I don't know what it is about Vancouver, but I couldn't get a job in Vancouver, so I went to Kelowna.
Okay.
I got a job there. So that was my first professional job.
Kelowna is east, and it's considered wine country for those that are watching somewhere in the world that have never heard of it. It's a beautiful area, lakes, wine, relaxing atmosphere, and Inventor Ron went there to get a job. That's where we're at in the story, right? Okay, let's continue.
Okay, so I got a job as a master control operator. So a master control is the guy that runs the commercials and the shows.
Okay.
So you have to be there. You have to be there early in the morning. You load up your commercials and your machines. And you check the log and you run a particular show that has 10 minutes. Tells you how long the segments are. When you get to a commercial break, run your commercials, queue up your next segment of the show, run the show, commercials, show, ID, next show, more commercials, and you do that throughout your show.
Okay.
So it's making commercials and, or not making commercials, running them in the shows, the on-air part. And then I also did switching for the news.
Which network did you work with? Was it Global you mentioned the other day? But that was later in Calgary?
It was Global, called Global at the time.
Okay.
I worked for Global, but back at the time it was something We went through several
So
owners.
different owners.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a local.
Wick Western was
Wick
the name
Western.
of the company at that time. They owned BCTV and Kelowna, but not Calgary was an independent. Edmonton was an independent, but later they got together and it became global, part of the global thing.
A more national. But you
Exactly.
worked exclusively for a period of time in Kelowna.
For about 2 years.
2 years, local type station,
Yeah.
getting up early in the morning.
Well, I did the master control for a while, and then I became a production switcher.
Okay.
So I would do the newscast. I was switching the live news shows.
Okay.
And then they said, Ron, we need you to go out in the field. So I became a news photographer, out driving around in a truck.
Nice.
It was an International Scout, brand new International Scout SUV I got. And I had the camera and then a reporter, and we'd spend a day in Penticton, and then the next day we'd spend in Vernon, and we'd get lunch. We get to go for lunch at the hotel, and it was a great life being a news photographer in Kelowna.
So 2 years you're inside, master, and then you go to another type of technical kind of control thing.
Live switching.
And then you go to do kind of roving.
Yeah, the news photographer
out on the
thing,
street
interview,
photographer.
going with a news reporter. So you work with a reporter, the photographer and the reporter. I would be the
A team.
driver.
Team of two.
Team thing, yeah, exactly.
When you're telling this story, I'm thinking about
Well, when I retired in 2011, I wanted to become an inventor, and I had an idea in mind.
And work together with good people, just like I like to do. All right, Ron, tell us about the inventions, beginning to end, where you want to go with it, freewheeling. All the inventions, the patents.
Hey, this has been fantastic. Inventor Ron, I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And
Something more for you to enjoy. Maybe in your pajamas or riding the bus or train or wherever you are in the world. Also, when you get a chance, I'm using about 20 different languages that YouTube has in their catalog for undertitles. I know translations are never perfect, but it's better than nothing, I assume. And if you can comment me if that's the case or if it's way off,